Your voice, your opinion, your community. Fact TV, free speech protected.
Good morning, Bellows Falls, and welcome to the feed. Here we are on another Wednesday. Another March 11th Wednesday. We have JR with us today. He's going to give us he's going to talk to us about the Day of Empathy that's coming up statewide, right? Nationwide, excuse me. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but first we have Marty with local events.
Biggest local event coming up is this Friday, Friday the 13th. I know, I can't believe they picked Friday the 13th. Cabaret is opening.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Friday the 13th, Saturday and Sunday, performances at 7:30, Saturday matinee at 2, and then next weekend, Friday, Saturday, I think next weekend is Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
Performances at 7:30, and then a Saturday matinee.
I saw some pictures up of dress rehearsal. It looks amazing.
I think it's going to be an amazing
golly.
play. Tickets are available at mainstreetarts.org. You can go into the Village Square booksellers, or you can call and purchase your tickets. Purchasing them online, I will say, they use Vendini, and it is like the easiest ticket purchase online I have ever.
Yeah, and you get to
get to choose
just
your
the whole.
seat.
Yeah, it's really very professional. It's like
Yep.
you choose your seat.
great.
Yeah, I have tickets for Saturday night. It's gonna be
Yes, we
great.
have tickets for
Yeah.
Friday night. We decided to go Friday the 13th and really,
Yeah, really do the whole
Put it out
bad
there,
luck
bad
thing.
luck
You should
thing.
carry a black cat with you and
I was
walk
thinking
under a
about it.
ladder on your way.
I was thinking about it. And then we have an event coming up.
Who? Fact TV
Fact TV.
actually has an event. Do we
Well,
want to
you
talk
can talk
okay.
about it, 'cause
The
Mike's
Fact
very
TV,
excited.
I'm excited about it. It's going to be an amazing event on March 25th at the Waypoint Center. Fact TV is doing its first ever TV mixer.
Chamber Mixer.
Chamber
Mixer.
Chamber of Commerce mixer. The Chamber of Commerce is helping us out. There's going to be food. There's going to be fun. There's going to be
Prizes?
prizes. And just as an example, I don't want you.
I hope that's not why you
Alex.
have the toilet paper here.
Hey, you gave it away. The reveal. I was going to make sure Alex had the security in place, but coveted.
Coveted toilet paper.
People are
I'm sure
are
the other
going
thing
crazy
is hand
around.
sanitizer.
You're terrible. You think I'm so predictable. Okay, so toilet paper could be a prize if it's not used by then. Toilet paper is on the menu, but in
Is that a real
keeping,
prize?
this is another door prize.
Okay, but
This
it
is
a real
actually
one?
one that I may contribute, but this is in keeping with the holiday season.
Oh Lord.
We have Last Supper after dinner mints. So, with the picture of Jesus and all the guys on there,
So we no longer have 2 viewers. We now have 0 viewers. They're
we
gone.
have just
TV's been shut
alienated
off.
everyone. But
Pretty much.
these will be there. Alex is cutting me off. He's saying, "Move on, Mike.
Move
This is
on.
too much." All right.
So as you can see, JR, it's a little wild here in the morning.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming and putting up with us.
My pleasure. Thank
Mike
you
is
for
particularly
asking.
ramped today.
I don't know what it is. It must be the weather.
Must be the
the
weather.
vultures came back. Did you see that yesterday?
Oh, the turkey vultures?
Yeah, the turkey vultures were back over the lot, circling.
Yeah, they circled a lot.
Yeah, it's
Which is a little
amazing.
scary.
Which is at a health center, is people are like, what?
Yeah.
You know, why are these vultures circling the lot? It has to do with heat and thermals, but it's a sure sign of spring, is if the turkey vultures are back,
Then
that's
spring,
it, yeah.
because they don't like to get snowed upon.
Yeah, they don't fly so well in the
Their
snow.
wings get. But- So, JR, you're coming to us from the Greater Falls Community Justice Center.
Yes,
So can you tell us a little bit about you and a little bit about the Justice Center?
sure. I started working with the Justice Center as an impacted person with the judicial system and substance use disorder. I'm also in recovery, and started working as a recovery coach in partnership with Turning Point of Springfield, as well as other grassroots organizations like Greater Falls Connections and Equity Solutions. I work with one of their workers quite often. And really what it's about is engaging the community and all of us as a community, recognizing the need for judicial reform in the respects that majority of the people who commit crimes and are going to jail and are being incarcerated really are just sick people that have the disease of addiction and need help and need resources for recovery, not to be warehoused in jails and incarcerated. In fact, incarcerating itself is a form of trauma on so many levels and in so many respects, that these individuals that are being incarcerated are coming back into our communities less likely to succeed, more likely to actually commit more crimes, to recommit and perpetuate their illness. And so there's a great need for judicial reform right now throughout the country.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about sort of your journey to here, because I can remember a couple, was it 2 years ago, we had Mike Johnson on, and he was talking about bringing recovery coaches and training. Are you part of that wave of people coming? You've trained as a recovery coach. Are you doing the work in Bellows Falls right now, or?
I am actually. As a recovery coach, I actually work for Mike Johnson.
Yeah.
And I am with the satellite office at Parks Place here in Bellows
Oh,
Falls.
okay. Yeah.
So I also have a female counterpart at Parks Place to work with women, or people who prefer to work with women.
Right.
But yes, I am a certified recovery coach. I was certified through Recovery Vermont, and it's really catching on.
Oh, it is. It's for people who don't know, this is a really sort of leading edge treatment, or
It is.
or I don't even know if treatment is the right word. But
It's a different approach, a non-traditional
it's an intervention
approach,
or
would you say?
Yes, absolutely.
yeah, that it's much more the idea of supporting people in the community, supporting people with things that they, and it may not be, it's sort of almost everyday things in a way. It's almost like being a life coach, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's really peer-to-peer.
Yeah.
That's the whole premise of its success, is that person like myself who has found recovery and have gotten well to some degree, right, from substance use disorder. I'm living a functional life, and then being able to help those who are trying to find the same thing, or who are seeking that same relief, and have nowhere else to turn, or have been everywhere else.
Right.
And this is really this is the newest healthcare profession, recovery coaching, and really I think it's successful because of the fact that the recovery coaches can identify with people who are suffering from substance use disorder.
Like they have empathy with them, right?
Yes. More than empathy.
Yeah,
but
more
yes,
than empathy.
At least that. Yes.
At least empathy. And this whole the idea of peer-to-peer really allows you to engage on a much closer and deeper level than like if it was just I don't want to say but a mental health counselor or someone who was at the hospital and saying, well, you should do this or do that, or if you want to get better. But if you're a peer and you're saying, hey, dude, this is where, you've been there, you've done it, and you've done not just that, but you've done this, and it's like, you're on the road and you're moving and everything's looking better, I imagine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And for all people who are afflicted with substance use disorder, this is the era for them, where we can kind of stop the cycle. And that ultimately is the objective, is really we're working for our children in that respect. Because,
that's an interesting way of looking at it,
yeah, the old programs, they didn't work. They haven't worked. And over-incarceration obviously doesn't work.
Yeah.
And the old ways of doing things where there was kind of like a puppeteer, where you have these professionals, healthcare professionals that are trained to work with this population and really having no idea of what they're feeling or going through. And so in that respect, it's changed.
Touch a little bit on the difference between like how recovery coach is different than a sponsor?
Absolutely. Sponsoring is specific to the AA and NA or other 12-step programs. It's basically that person who has been through the steps, the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, and kind of walking newcomers through that process. It's more like a teacher-mentor type position, and it's specific to the 12 steps. It really has nothing to do with the other aspects, the many other aspects that a person may be going through in early recovery.
That's what I kind of wanted to bring out, is that with recovery coaching, you're encompassing so much more.
Yes.
You're not restricted by kind of the AA, not that the AA principles are bad, they work for a lot of people, but for a lot of people, they don't work.
You're absolutely right.
Or you need something else.
You're absolutely right.
And that's where the recovery coaching filled that gap.
Yeah. Alcoholics Anonymous was my pathway to recovery, but however, it is not for everybody. In fact, there's a very small percentage of people who are afflicted with substance use disorder that find relief through Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous. Excuse me. So one has to ask themselves, well, what about the other people that are out in the populace that are afflicted with this disease? And families are being decimated by it, and our tax system is being decimated by it because we're paying for so much money towards people being incarcerated, and then with supervision afterwards, just for them to go back to jail because they haven't really addressed the real issues.
Right.
The rate of racism has risen, and it continues to rise. Until we start addressing the issue of the substance use disorder as being the cause of people committing these crimes, then it's just going to continue.
Yeah, yeah. I saw a thing over the weekend of a program that they're starting in, I think, Mississippi or somewhere, it could have been Louisiana, where they're actually recognizing those facts and saying, we threw all these people in jail without any thought of what they're going to do there, what's going to happen to them when they come out. And they found that the recidivism rate has gone up. And so now they're trying to do both recovery teachings they set up a facility that's like, okay, we're going to do this, and we're going to do education, and we're going to do vocational work so that when people come out, they might have a better chance of staying out. And I imagine that's in not a formal way, but in a more boots on the ground way is the way what you're doing, right? You're bringing where do you meet people? Where do you meet people that you work with? How does that work?
They typically come in to see me, and because the fact remains the same that a person who is suffering from substance use disorder can't really find recovery until they're ready. And that's kind of unique to the disease, where the person afflicted has to make the decision to change and reach out for help. But that always comes because it brings us to such an ugly place, and it's so destructive. So that almost always comes, and when that happens, we need to be there. It's a small window of opportunity to address these people, and we need to be there and be ready to support them when they're ready. And so they come in to see me at Parks Place.
At Parks Place, you have an office there? Do you have like regular office hours, or is it like? Well, no, I'm asking these strange. It's sort of like, because you can you? You're sort of meeting. You have some office hours, I imagine. But
I do. I'm at the office all day, every day, Monday through Friday. Yeah. I can be found at Parks Place just about all day. Because there's a lot more to just recovery coaching, right? There's a lot of other avenues that need to be addressed to support these people, these impacted people. And so for instance, on March 25th, I'm coordinating the Day of Empathy, which is a day for the entire nation to kind of come together, impacted people along with grassroots organizations and hopefully the community at large, to engage one another and say, we have to change our judicial system. We have to change. We have way too many people incarcerated. We have the most incarceration globally.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Than any other nation. And they're not getting the help. Our tax dollars are being spent for us to warehouse our brothers, our sisters, our mothers, our fathers, our children, when they just need help. And along with the family too, the whole family organization needs help in that situation, in that scenario, because it's a family illness. If you have one addicted person in the house and has been practicing addictive behavior over years, multiple years, it's inevitable that it's going to affect negatively the rest of the household, as well as the neighbors. Then, when it comes to crimes, the entire community, right?
Right.
And so in order to make the community safer for these people who are re-entering our communities, in order to sustain the family institution, which is so crippled right now because of this disease, as well as help the individual, we have to look for alternative measures. Incarceration is not it. Our tax dollars can be better spent supporting these people through recovery coaching,
right?
Through family treatment courts, which is something that we're trying to implement here in Vermont. You know, a drug court, which is something that's happening in a couple counties in this state.
So talk a little bit more about that. What's drug court?
Drug court is an alternative to incarceration for people who are coming in front of judges, you know, coming in front of the courts with criminal offenses, but directly linked to their addiction. So instead of just handing out mandated sentences and handing out punitive sentences, they're actually recognizing the need for holistic approaches to help these people for recovery and not only just for the person, but for the victims as well as the families. And you know, they're bringing in whatever professionals that need to be brought into the conversation to help that one individual. In DUI court, for instance, it's for repeat offenders here in Vermont. And it's recognized by the courts that those people need counseling, they need therapy, they need drug, you know, help with their drug addictions and their alcoholisms, and you know, and they're trying to keep the children involved instead of having them placed immediately in DCF if there's parents involved. You know, these are the approaches we need. This is, you know, just
It's a humane way of looking at it.
the humane way of
instead
looking at it.
just
It's being
stomping.
empathetic.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, instead of saying, okay, you're a criminal, you know, you sold drugs, and that's destroying our streets, so we're gonna throw you in jail for a decade. You know, that doesn't help anyone.
Because you're not treating the root cause of why they sold the drugs.
That's exactly
You're just
right.
punishing them for selling the drugs, which, yes, you break the law, there's a certain level of.
There's got to be accountability.
There's got to
Right.
be accountability, but
Right.
there, you can also teach accountability with, you
So
know,
go
with-
ahead.
I don't know how to say it, with accountability, and then, but also treat the root cause, so
Yeah.
that there's an understanding of how they got there, because, I mean, addiction doesn't just happen, you don't just wake up, it, you know, there's root causes, and if you can get to those root causes, and you can make someone a better person, or, you know, connections are more comfortable, or more functioning, more able to, you know, live in society, then yeah, then it just seems like a no-brainer. But it really isn't a no-brainer. It really isn't the way our society is set up.
It's
really
not the
a
way
no-brainer.
it's not the way, for some reason, it's not the way we think. It should be the way we think, but it's not the way we think.
I
It's
kind of
like,
think it's the difference between, the difference between sympathy and empathy. Sympathy is, oh, I'm sorry, you're addicted, I'm sorry.
I
You know,
feel
we're gonna
sorry
I
for
feel
you.
sorry for you, but we're gonna send you to jail anyway.
Yeah.
And empathy is, I understand you have an addiction problem. Let's see if we can deal with that.
Yes. And in this conversation that we're having, both of you are you know, showing a lot of empathy, you know, and that's what we need. That's what we need from the community. And I'm glad you brought it up, that it doesn't just happen. And it doesn't just happen.
You just wake up one day.
You don't just wake up one day and all of a sudden you're out prostituting or breaking into someone's house because you need to find something to steal, to sell, to buy more drugs. It just doesn't happen that way. And it's certainly not anything that people choose to do.
it's not, it's,
You know, people don't wake up in the morning and say, okay, when I get older, I'm gonna be an alcoholic.
yeah.
And
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
go live on the
betray
street.
everyone that I love
Yeah.
and destroy the neighborhood I live in. That's just not the way it works. You know, these individuals that are afflicted with substance use disorder don't want the disease, don't want to get high every single day, all day long. They don't want to betray their children or neglect them. They don't want to abuse their spouses or significant others. They don't want to steal from their neighbors. This is not something they choose to do. It's a behavior that's directly associated with being sick, and they need help, just like any other disease,
Right.
just like diabetes.
Yeah, but it's one of those, what are they, invisible diseases, is that what they call it, where it's like, you know, the same as, similar to mental illness, where,
Yes.
you know, you don't see it, so you're like, why, you know, and it shows up in behavior. as
And that's a
opposed
good
to-
point too. A lot of the people that I work with, I would say majority of them are what's called co-occurring disorders,
Yeah, yeah.
which means they have the substance use disorder as well as an underlying mental health
Mhm,
issue.
mhm.
And you're right, the mental health system is just as bad currently as the penal system in our state and in our country. And they're not being recognized for being sick people either. Oftentimes, they're being recognized for having a
Yeah,
moral
they
deficiency.
Yeah,
of some
exactly.
sort.
Yeah, they see this. They're either their behavior is off, so everybody's like, oh, this is a bad person, not a sick person. Yeah, yeah.
So I'm hoping you guys will come join me March 25th at the State House from 9 to 3 p.m., where we're going to get an opportunity for impacted people to speak to the public and hopefully legislation and appeal to them and call for action and reforming our judicial systems.
Is there more, is this nationwide, in addition, or is it just Vermont?
This is nationwide. On March 25th, it's going to be
that's
in
what I
every
thought.
state. Yeah.
I did a little research.
Do more.
And now, how did this, we have a little bit of time left, so how did this where did this swell come from? Was it related to, you did a program back in this summer, Cut 50?
In November.
November?
In November, I coordinated an event for the organization that sponsors Day of Empathy, Cut 50, which is part of Dream Corps. There are many people involved in that. People may recognize Van Jones, who had the Redemption Project on CNN. He's one of the originators, as well as Louis Reed, who came to Bellows Falls for that event in November, and he's one of the national organizers for this. It's being recognized throughout the country that a call for action is needed by the judicial systems in every state and federally. And people need to get help for their disorders.
Because it's not just going to go
Not
away.
thrown in a cage.
Yeah.
It's gonna, that just exasperates it.
Yep.
It further traumatizes these individuals and doesn't address the underlying cause, so they come out and they recommit almost immediately, and sometimes worse. I know for myself personally, that was the case earlier in my life, where I had committed crimes due to my disease and I was incarcerated and not given any kind of help or support for the disease. Instead, I was forced to live with people who were veteran criminals and taught me how to get out there and get high a lot easier and a lot better, and my disease just progressed. And obviously I recommitted.
Yeah.
So if someone can't go to Montpelier, like they can't make it that day, are there other measures that people could take to support this cause?
Absolutely. This is that one, March 25th is just the day to celebrate impacted people coming forward and speaking out, but this is an annual event, right? This is something we have to do 365 days a year. And a lot of the change is being affected by just normal people that are associated with, like yourselves, with not-for-profit organizations like Fact TV and Parks Place and Turning Point. And we're all working year-round to addressing this issue by contacting our legislation, contacting our Senate, speaking to them, work with their constituents. We determine whether they go back into office, so let's use that power.
Right.
And implore and appeal to them to change these laws and be more sympathetic and more empathetic, both.
That's true.
To this
I
cause.
want to bring you back to this local area because I think a lot of the issues are local. Everyone says all politics are local. And I saw you at the Let's Take Action Rockingham things, so I know that you're interested too. Pardon me. What do you see as barriers locally, or what would help you in the Rockingham, Bellows Falls area to do what you do? What are the major barriers? Is it transportation? Is it jobs? Is it acceptance? What?
Well,
and I don't want to put you on.
Yeah.
You can say I don't want
put
to
me in a
answer that
spot
right now.
Fortunately, I have established myself now that I have a career and I'm pretty stable in that career and I'm blessed. My higher power saw to it that I could build a career around helping people with this disorder and helping the community at large.
But in helping them, what is the what is a person who is on the road to recovery, in recovery? What are the things that are holding them back? Not personally, but
I think one of the biggest things that are holding them back is not any actions on their part, right? And they're not even aware that this may be true. But I think the lack of collaboration between organizations sometimes is a huge barrier, because we need a coordinated effort from all the organizations that work for our community, and every level of that work. So these silos that exist sometimes
Interesting.
are
Well, that's
more
an interesting-
destructive than
that's-
anything else.
I'm doing this here.
We're getting
I'm doing
empathy
this
on
here,
that one.
and I'm doing this here, but nobody's talking about what they're doing.
Yeah.
So sometimes you're duplicating work, and
That's
sometimes
right.
stuff's falling through the cracks.
Absolutely right.
That was,
Absolutely
I
right.
guess that's one of the things I've seen in the Take Action Rockingham meetings and stuff I've been to is there's a bunch of stuff going on, but no one, it's like this person's doing this over here and this person's doing it.
Yeah.
And if they were to sort of come together, it could be incredible.
Right. Just like a construction site, right?
Yeah,
You have certain professionals doing certain things, but all of them are working toward the same cause.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
whether or not it's going to be a magnificent structure that's going to survive centuries, or whether it's going to be, just a thrown together structure that's only going to survive.
That's a great
50
analogy.
years.
I like that. I'm going to use that.
That really describes it.
Yeah, it does.
We can come together just like a well-crafted building
Mm-hmm.
and work together, but everyone has their own specialties and professions and expertise. Then I think we'll have that holistic care that we need.
Parks Place goes a long way toward bringing that because everybody's under one roof. Do you find that you talk with the other agencies and other people a lot?
Every day.
Yeah.
Yes, every day. And that is, you're right. Parks Place is kind of like the heartthrob of Bellows Falls, in terms of not-for-profits. So you're absolutely right.
Communicating. I think we're getting, because I forgot to turn the clock on quickly, I think
Oh,
we're
okay.
getting a little bit low on time. So let's just recap. When is the event?
March 25th
Where is it?
at State House in Montpelier.
What do you want people to do?
Come.
There you go. It's that easy. It's that easy.
Just come.
Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah, JR, thanks for
And
coming on. You're
Now
going to have
that-
to
now
come
that
on
you've
again
survived,
sometime.
now that
It's
you've
been a
survived, you can
pleasure.
come back again and tell us more
Yeah,
about the work.
I would love to. In fact,
Awesome.
now that I actually got up before 6 o'clock and realized
That
people
is a barrier.
people are awake and doing things, I may have to actually watch this program more often and hopefully come back.
Okay.
All right, we'll
Well,
see you
thanks, JR. Thanks, Bellows Falls, and we'll see you next week.